And that made me very happy and excited and just happy, that okay, that if I do what God is telling me to do and be patient and what you call it, it's going to come through. You know what I'm saying? It's going to come through. And yeah, I got a little bit more time before I can talk to everybody about everything that's going to happen, but I already know that everything is going to be good, and God's got me in the things that I'm trying to do. So I'm happy about that. So I would say right now I'm a strong 9. I'm gonna say I'm a strong 9. I would be a 10 if the Commanders did win, but I do say that I'm a strong 9. I'm still happy with where I see I'm going and where the future's going in my family and things like that. I just have to get through it, and that's kind of what we had a guest pastor too. And believe me, if I had known it was a guest pastor, I would have stayed home because I don't be messing with them. But he did a great job, so because I was like, oh, I'll just watch the guest pastor from home, that's but anyway, but nah, he did a great job and he spoke on some of the things that I was going through. So it was definitely what I needed. So I was excited about that. So there we go. So I'm a 9. Desmond, how you doing, man? Tell us how you feel. Give us from 0 to 10 where you at and what you excited about this week.
Yeah, the week was I was feeling at a 4, man. Like which is lately that seemed to be the case. You know what I'm saying, with work and not being home with my kids and not be able to spend time with Allison the way I want to. It's rough. It's things we still trying to figure out. But today I feel like I'm at a 10. I'm in good spirits. My Eagles smacked your Commanders. And I'm excited that we about to win this Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying? And I'm always excited that, I'm progressing with this food truck thing. So I'm definitely excited about that, you know what I'm saying? Get that up and running. It's good times.
Okay. I'm
Good
glad it's
stuff.
good
Food
times.
truck,
I'm
that's what's
glad
up.
Good stuff.
yeah,
That's how
definitely.
Yeah,
football should be.
Yeah.
It's to bring your spirits up, man.
yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm interested to hear about that, man. I do the ice cream truck with my custom ice cream truck. Go out and do events. I
That's,
did a few with Coach. So yeah.
So just
that's
because
what's up.
just in case you can't read the tickets, it says the views and the hate from Coach are not the opinion of Dad Mentality Podcast. Held to the Commanders. Anyway, Sergeant Garrett, how you doing? Tell us from 0 to 10 and what you looking forward to, man.
You know what? I'm a solid 8. I'm a solid 8. If I started off the day, I was probably at about a 6. I wasn't feeling well, but I stuck it out. Look, you know how growing up in a black family in the household, if you get sick, if your stomach hurt, what they tell you to go drink.
Robitussin
Real.
or ginger ale too.
Real.
Yeah.
I'm
Ginger ale if
telling
you
you,
got a
man.
stomach ache. Yeah.
Ever since I've been drinking that ginger ale, I've been feeling better. I was like, see, that's why we
Ain't
got to
no
keep it in the
damn
house.
ginger in that ginger ale.
It's only like a half a percent, like a half percent ginger. It's a psychosomatic effect. So
Yeah.
nah, you know what though? I'm doing really good. I'm
Heard
excited
about that
because
class action lawsuit on ginger ale. Man said I ain't got no ginger in the jump.
yeah, I heard about it. I didn't think that was Canada Dry. I thought that was Seagram's or another brand.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. Yeah, I remember reading about that joint.
My fault,
No, you all good, man. I'm excited though because after I get off this podcast, I got to go and help my son. He's doing his 11th grade class registration. He's looking at taking, 4 AP courses and just looking at what my man has been able to do in, his 2 years in high school, like 4.2 GPA. He killing it,
Nice.
man. I'm just so proud of him. So I can't wait to just help push him on that journey. 11th grade is when you start really looking at, all right, what college you want to go to, and what do you want to do for the rest of your life. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. And it's funny because I don't know if y'all experienced this in raising my sons. It forces me to be the best version of me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because you were talking about Beast. You were talking about earlier how you have been praying on stuff, and stuff's coming to pass. For me, I'm starting to get sore, and I'm starting to get sore because I'm boxed in. That tells me that I need to grow. Like I
Mm.
need to be in an environment that doesn't box me in to where I can stretch and I can do what it is I'm supposed to do, and I'm starting to feel it. So and thinking about, taking care of my son, I'm like, man, I need to make some moves myself. But it's good. It's good. Everything's working out for us. Despite what's going on in the country, 2025 is gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
good year.
absolutely. All right. So when you start feeling sore, that means you boxed in. Okay, I like. I might have to look into that. I don't know if that's a professional thing. Is that like, or is that just an old spiritual like the ginger ale? Is that in some kind of book? Is that called something or?
Yeah, I can put it in the book. I can write it in the
Oh
book.
yeah. Speaking of the book, I think it's been
Man,
about
look,
2 years. We've been waiting on this book
y'all
that
sure
ain't
have.
happened yet. Hold on, man.
Yeah, that
I'm
Y'all
book
glad you
sure
ain't
brought
never
it
have.
up.
made. Yeah.
Look, y'all supposed
That
to,
joint like the Game of Thrones. It ain't never gonna finish.
look, you
You know?
just said you went to church, right? You supposed to
You
be
can't
giving
rush
your
greatness,
neighbors
man.
grace.
Don't listen to him, man.
You supposed to be giving your neighbors grace.
Hey, dog. Like my wife tell me, or I tell my wife, it's been 2 years. You might as well throw that shit away. It's like you know what I'm
Look,
saying?
you ain't use it by now. You
Yeah.
gonna use it, but nah. That's something that's gonna happen. That's part of what I was talking about being boxed in because, professionally, what I'm doing is it's taking a lot more energy than it should, and it's not paying off the way it should. So talk about, I'm gonna be talk some of Matty Ice's terminology now. That return on investment in what it should be. So I'm gonna need to make some moves and go where I can grow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hey, I
Mhm.
feel you. I feel you. I feel you. All right, so finally, Reese is actually watching the show at the time that we're recording this. So I'm gonna go ahead. She say, "Hey, family,
You keep
I was
posting
at
the
the
same
10
comment.
yesterday, but that's me posting it. But I was at 10 yesterday because I'm going back to read it. I was at 10 yesterday, but one of my friends got hurt, and it made me drop all the way down to a number 5. They got dead eyes packed. I guess she meant, she can't see. So I mean, she's trying to say that they got their eyes picked out by some birds, and I think
Nah,
she's
you gotta go
trying
up
to
to
go to
another.
me.
Which
Yeah,
one?
she told me her brother got attacked by
Yeah,
some
she said her
birds.
brother got beat up or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
got
me.
beat up by some birds.
She talking about the Eagles and me. I'm
Yeah.
her brother, and the Eagles beat me up. So she always want to crack a joke, whatever. But yeah, and make sure you turn on your spell check,
Reese,
all right,
keep
Reese.
going, Reese. Keep going.
But shout out to Seeking Knowledge Podcast. They're in the building watching out. I met them through Desmond's show, and Miss Amy saying hello, Amy. How you doing today? Once again, Reese, she is blind, but she wanted to make sure she acknowledged Sergeant Garrett. Nice to see you again. And that she was the first person this morning I was on her show telling me she's single and let Sergeant Garrett know. So,
He
and
a Carolina
Oh,
fan,
man.
Reese. He a Carolina fan, Reese.
I am. That's my
He ain't no
hometown.
good.
Hey,
They ain't no good.
Look,
ain't
no,
nothing wrong with that.
that's called loyalty. That's what that's called.
I mean,
Oh
hey,
yeah,
hey, the
coach.
guys
You know, Coach don't know nothing about that.
What is really
Nothing about
called?
no loyalty. Not at all.
Nah. Hey, Sergeant Garrett, man, it's called addiction. That's what. That's
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Oh, man.
North Carolina is my second state, man. I used to live there too, so that's my second
Okay.
state.
I
All
mean,
right.
my wife from Greensboro, so I mean,
I was from Chapel
Okay.
Hill. Yeah, Chapel Hill, right down the
So
street
you a
from the
Tar
Tar
Heel?
Heels.
So you a Tar Heel
Yeah,
then?
absolutely.
Oh, you know it.
I
You
hate
know it.
I hate the Dookies, man. The
I
Dookies,
hate
no way.
Duke.
Get out of here.
I hate
I hate
Dookie.
Duke.
Yep. Same way.
Especially basketball. They always winning. I hate them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Can't stand them.
Reese
Sounds
also
all right.
wanted me to tell you to read her book Shades of Blue because she actually finished the book, so she wanted to maybe give you some inspiration.
I know. I might need to get some inspiration from Reese. Look, I might need to see how she was able to do it.
Yeah, so she'll let you know too. She might make you try to come to her apartment though. You better be careful about that. Bring your wife.
Yeah,
You know
look,
what I'm saying?
I take my wife. I take my wife. Make sure we're all right.
But hey, we're gonna get into this topic this week, fellas. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this. So I did the show Sipping and Tripping podcast with Desmond Black and had a great time with him and Chef Dennis. Shout out to Chef Dennis and Who's Cooking Podcast. And I'm not gonna lie, when I got on there, I felt like I was a counselor. You know, Desmond definitely had some things he needed to get off his chest. I know. I think he felt better after he got it off his chest. But it was a great time that being there. And I was like, yo, he talks about a lot about going to counseling and things like that. And I was like, he's looking for a counselor. And I was like, hey man, I want to introduce you to Sergeant Garrett. I know Sergeant Garrett may not be actively counseling right now, but I know that is something that you definitely do. Maybe you can point him in the right direction as we go through the show or whatever the case may be, but we'll see as we go through. But one of the things that we definitely always talk about, and he talks about there, is mental health and talks about addiction and things like that. And so I wanted him to be on here to ask his questions if he had them, but I'm gonna go ahead and start the show off with a mental health question. And just kind of, I know some of these questions we've talked about before, but I still think they can spark interest in the conversation today. So, what is when it comes to mental health and I feel like mental health, especially for Black men, is something new. It's something that we're really learning about. It wasn't something that our culture had it wasn't something that was really taught to. I'm just gonna talk for me personally. Mental health was not something that I was told or took into consideration. I grew up in that area when when you cried, you was told not to stop crying. Real men don't cry type comments and things like that. And when it comes to people's mental health in your professional time, Sergeant Garrett, what is usually the most common mistake people make when it comes to it, and even understanding how to begin the journey into mental health?
I think the most common mistake that I see is they avoid it. People don't talk about it. People will avoid it. And I'm sure this is going to come up later on in the conversation, but that's where things like addiction to alcohol and other drugs come from. That's where we call those maladaptive coping comes from, like ways that we do to try to make ourselves feel better, but they wind up causing us more pain. They wind up causing us money. They wind up causing us other issues in our lives. So I probably say the biggest thing that we do is we avoid it. Some of that is just because we, like you said, we don't know. I grew up in a Black family from North Carolina. We don't know about no mental health. We went to church. We prayed it away. That's what we did. So we didn't know about, what bipolar disorder was. We didn't know what depression was. We didn't know, what anxiety was. We didn't know ADHD was. ADHD was, I'm gonna go get a switch and spank it out of you. That's how we dealt with it.
Yeah.
100%.
But right. But that's how we were raised. But what you have to look at is how that formed us as adults, to where as adults, especially adult Black men, we are emotionally stunted. We can't even feel nothing. Like to feel the smallest amount of pain, we avoid it, and then we hold it in until it just explodes. Typically in men, anger is a huge red flag for depression. It gets misdiagnosed as being like a sociological thing, but it's really in men a key ingredient in depression. So one of the things that we can do is we just need to learn what it feels like to feel. And for those of you who have boys, let them little boys feel. Like, one of the worst things you can tell a child, a little boy, from a developmental standpoint is, suck it up, don't cry. Like, allow them to feel. Hold them accountable. Still hold them accountable. I ain't saying don't hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. They need to know. But at the same time, we got to allow them to feel so they can grow up having an emotional range of expression besides I'm just sad, angry, happy, mad.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. It's always been one of those things, especially now with my son, that I let him work out his emotions. And I mean, it's new to me. I'm still working on it myself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And totally actually, discussing, because now the times I find myself asking myself why. You know what I'm saying? Why do I feel this way? Why am I getting ready to react the way I'm getting ready to react? and taking that time to really have that discussion with yourself before you react. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, I've had the times where I said that and I still was like, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and still react that way. You know what I'm saying? And still say what I got to say
Yep. You
and let
finna
it
get
go.
it. You finna get it no matter what. Yeah. It
So,
happens.
you know,
That's-
I definitely feel
That's
like
what we
it's
talked
definitely a
about
work in
before.
progress.
It's that reaction instead of a response. You know what I mean? Sometimes a reaction, like you said, could be that uncontrollable reaction that you didn't want to have, but since you had a moment to think about it, it's a response. You still can choose to be like, nah, this is how I'm about to carry this. But sometimes we just, like you said, react without thinking. You know what I mean? So it's just a good thing that you even aware and, you know what I mean, thinking your way through the process so you can respond instead of react. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
because what you're doing is you're doing the foundational therapeutic intervention, cognitive behavioral therapy. By exercising that questioning attitude, what you're basically doing is you are challenging those original thoughts and emotions as they come up to change your behavior. That's CBT. Like people pay $100 an hour for to learn how to do that. That's basically cognitive behavioral therapy. The actual intervention is called cognitive restructuring. I like to call that a $50 word for a 5-cent concept.
Okay. So I would like break that down for me. What is cognitive reconstruction?
Cognitive
Yeah, I've heard
reconstruction
that.
is real simple. You just did it. You just described you yourself doing it, where you were questioning why am I reacting this way. It starts with noticing how you're feeling, because it starts with those feelings. It starts with those feelings. Those feelings will begin to influence our thoughts. If left unchecked, that's what causes that reaction. That's what causes that knee-jerk reaction where we're yelling, or worst case, we might wind up with a shiny pair of silver handcuffs on. That's what causes that. By you exercising that questioning attitude, you are challenging those original feelings, or at least questioning them. So now what you're doing is at a neurological level, you're engaging this part of your brain. This is your prefrontal cortex, and you're not letting your amygdala take over. That's the emotional sense. That's that primal brain. They call it the lizard brain. You are engaging your prefrontal cortex. And I always like to tell my clients this, where my patients this: as a human, you are one of the highest forms of life on this planet. As far as what your
Oh, don't tell me we lost him.
You have evolved to be able to
Okay,
do all kinds of things not other animals can do. And so use it, learn to use it. That's what makes you such us as human beings. That's what makes us such a evolved form of life on the planet, even though we don't act like it all the time. But that's what makes us so evolved, is that we have the ability to question our emotions. We have the ability to regulate them and in turn control our actions and behaviors.
Okay. Coach, you got anything to add to that, or?
Nah, man, I think you know what I'm saying. The start.
I lost sound for a little bit, so let me try to figure this out.
Nah,
Alright.
You back? You good?
Nah, he can't hear us, I'm assuming.
Oh, he can't.
Yeah, because something happened to his
everything he's
headset.
saying is, you know what I'm saying, like the ability to control your questioning, your emotions, right? You know what I mean, and your thoughts. And the thing about it is, oftentimes our thoughts aren't reality, right? There are fears. So when we don't check our thoughts, we end up going down a rabbit hole that doesn't even exist.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I definitely believe, you know what I'm saying, that what he's saying is 100% true. And a lot of times people get in a lot of trouble because their emotions are involved and they're not truly thinking through the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I agree too. And I think we were saying, like, we talking about that cognitive reconstruction, like it's because I like been reading a lot of stuff and talk, but it's like you have that cognition in your brain, and that means like you have that aha moment, like where you something registers to you and it maybe clicks a different way. You could have heard it a few times, but when you do it yourself and you kind of recognize it yourself, you have that moment where you like, I'm tripping, like for real, why am I even mad about this? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times it's just maybe some old baggage that's triggering you to have this response. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? Like some people like I can go to like the little man complex. Like they snapping because somebody say something. You know what I mean? It's just a reaction. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, nobody may not have been attacking you. They might not even meant it that way or something like that. But as soon as you hear something, it just triggers you to go back to a old feeling that you had. So when you able to just check yourself sometimes and be like, man, I'm tripping. Like, why am I even feeling like this about that? You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? So it's about checking yourself. You know what I mean? When you feel yourself about to go left, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Then after you go left, sometimes you feel like, damn, why I let that person even get me off my square? You know what I'm saying? So
you have the thing about it is that I think that in a lot of situations, your thoughts have already taken you left. You know what I mean? And then the trigger, and then whatever is said, you haven't even heard because you're already acting in your thoughts.
So no, you have heard it. That's why the thoughts are triggering.
It's a combination.
The problem is, so coach, you're on the right path. You have heard it. It's just that you're not hearing it right now. I like to say what you're doing is your insecurity is what's listening, not your ears. You're using your fear to listen, not your ears.
Right.
So that's what those triggers are. Those are those prior experiences. When you really break down human behavior, human experiences, it all goes back to childhood, right? Everything starts with childhood. While your brain is forming, it is extremely malleable. So you learn different connections. They're called in the psychology world, they call those schemas. You are forming schemas about everything. Like from birth to age 5, your brain develops way more than it does at any point in your life. And so you're developing these schemas. So you're learning what attachment looks like. You're learning what parental love looks like. You're learning what healthy relationships with parents and other family members look like. You're learning what social relationships are like. And so that's what makes those childhood traumas and experiences so impactful on people as adults because they have that experience with them for the rest of their life. If you think about like you're building a house, that is one of your foundational beliefs. That structure is going to be problematic because that is the foundation. So part of therapy is literally breaking everything down, unpacking it to learn a new foundation.
All right, Desmond, you got anything you want to add or question?
So you had said, what are some common mistakes that we make when it comes to dealing with our mental health, right? Like it's a lot of things, a lot of mistakes that people make. Like a lot of times we overgeneralize things, right? Or we confuse like thoughts with facts, right? We draw our own conclusions without doing the work and try to seek out, we should all be seeking to understand, right? But a lot of times we come up with this thought and we run with it, right? So we confuse thoughts with facts. We overgeneralize things. We in our minds we come to these conclusions that may not be the right conclusion. You know what I'm saying? And then we run with it and we push that on other people, right? Like it's like sometimes another mistake we make is like beating ourselves up, right? Instead of seeking out that help or doing the work to make things better, we just beat ourselves up, right? And that messes with our anxiety, right? Like it just makes everything worse. We don't help ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know
So
what I mean?
what you're talking, it becomes. By the way, all those things you described, the overgeneralizing, the confusing emotions with facts, those are all things called cognitive distortions.
Right.
Again, $50 words for 5-cent concepts. You already know what they are. Just somebody created a word to make themselves sound smart. But yeah, you're right. We do those distortions all the time. And the thing about those the distortions, they lead to distorted thinking, and they happen like that. They're knee jerk. They happen real quick.
Right.
So you got to understand where they come from. Those are evolutionary responses. You got to think as human beings, 20,000 years ago when our brains kind of developed to be what they are today, because our brains haven't really changed in, 20 or 30,000 years, if not more.
Right.
Life was different. Life was different. We
Yeah.
had to overgeneralize because it saved our lives. Like, you see some grass rustling, you gathering some berries or something, you see some grass rustling, that might be, some predator is ready to eat your face off. So you're going to want to jump to conclusions and see that as danger. So
Right.
fast forward, and in our highly industrialized life now, we don't have those same dangers, but our brains
Right.
still react the same way. So
Yeah.
that's what makes that cognitive
Yeah.
restructuring or CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is such an important tool. Now, it might not work for everybody because, but I mean, there's a therapeutic method for every day of the week. Somebody came up with something that they swear is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So CBT might not work, but there are, a lot of other things that work. But you were talking about Desmond, beating yourself up. What really happens is you'll find you'll be in kind of a circular, um, like a feedback loop where something will happen, you beat yourself up, you feel bad about yourself, and then you feel bad
Mm.
about yourself, and it impacts your performance, and you don't do well, then you feel bad about yourself, and it just becomes this negative feedback loop, and you tend to spiral after that.
Right. So I'm glad you said that because this thing. So one of the questions I have is this: like, do you feel like people stop beating themselves up? Like, do you think that that's like we suppress it, or do you think it's more so like we can get past that if we do the work?
Oh, if you do the work, you totally can get past it. But you're right, a lot of people
Mhm.
do suppress it. And what's worse, a lot of people will avoid it, and they'll avoid it in a lot of unhealthy ways. So um,
Mhm.
think
That's when you
about,
start getting addictions, trying to
you're
avoid
right.
things or
Yep.
or
Yeah.
finding another way to cope with something. Instead
Yeah.
of coping with the issue, you usually find something else to help cope.
Yeah.
Or no, or
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You find something that helps you avoid the issue, but that issue is there. It's not going away. All you're doing is just it's like trying to bury a car. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna have to do a whole lot of digging and a whole lot of other stuff to bury that car. Um, but also how that manifests, and this is something that really affects us as men. It can affect us in hyper aggressive behavior. So think about those predatory lenders, the stock traders, the hyper aggressive people who are playing sports. Those athletes that they have to win at all costs. Why? Why do they have to win at all costs? Because a lot of them, to fail means that they would uh, they would essentially be justifying all the negative thoughts that they have about themselves. So their success is an avoidant tool to make them actually not think about how much they actually loathe who they are, how much they dislike themselves. You see that all the time. You talk to the average young man who's like, and I think the YouTube vernacular is he's been red pilled, and they'll talk about how men need to dominate women and all of this stuff. Man, you strip all that away, they are just deeply insecure men. I see it every day I go to work. They're deeply insecure men, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that they've never dealt with or addressed it, or as you said, they never put in the work to get through it, to overcome it.
yeah, absolutely. All right, we got a lot of comments in here. I'm just gonna go through a few of them because some of them I think that Mystic asked, "What is your background?" I already said earlier that you are a mental health and drug specialist. Did I miss anything else in the background?
Um,
Besides a mental health drug specialist in the in what you call it, in and
hostage negotiator.
yeah, negotiate hostage negotiator. Yeah, did I
Yeah.
miss anything? You got it.
No, no, that's about it. So my
All right.
background is in the military. I was it's called a KDAC, a certified alcohol and drug counselor. Um, I did that for like 13 years. Actually, yeah, the last 13 years of my career before I retired. And now I work at a residential addiction treatment center, this dual diagnosis, so both with mental health and addiction. That's
Okay.
what I do now.
All right.
And of course try to write books, but
No,
I
you
don't.
ain't write no book.
Well, I
Yeah,
ain't write no book.
don't believe it.
Yeah.
Don't write book.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
don't put
I'm
that
gonna
on the
shock y'all
background.
one day. Like, look what I got.
Yeah, yeah, comic books.
I'm not sure prime grade. I guess they that's what he said. All right. There's so much hate because of lack of understanding and lack of empathy. So we don't have to go on and talk about it if you want to talk. If you want to what you call it, I'm just bringing them out there so people can see them. Emotional intelligence is the key to healthy living. Our boy KJ
Yep.
signed in. So But let's get ready to get into the other thing. Well, what is all right? So Mystic also said better CBT can make you
One wallow.
feelings. DBT. What is
DBT.
CBT and DBT? I
So
don't need either one of
so right, DBT is
makes you deals with
dialectical
that.
behavioral therapy.
Okay.
Dialectical behavioral therapy is really good for helping people work through certain things. It's good for creating boundaries with people in interpersonal relationships. I use it a little bit, but I don't use it with men that much. Honestly, with men, if I'm not using CBT, I'm using CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. What I'm doing with men a lot is ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. I really love me some ACT because that teaches you to accept the reality in order to move on. Because you are accepting the circumstance, and then you're learning the skills that you need to do to not dwell or wallow on the negative of what's going on around you, and you are progressing, you're moving forward, you're not getting stuck in that negative frame of thinking. That's why I was saying, man, there are so many there are so many mental health theories and therapeutic interventions. There's one for like every day of the week.
Okay. All right. So all right. So now we're gonna go into the next question. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it going. So my next question is, what are some things that people use to mask their addictions? Like, what is the most common things that you see that people do or use to mask their addiction?
Other people.
What do
Other
you mean
people.
by other people?
Birds of a feather. If you're dealing with someone who is struggling with addiction, what they'll do is they'll want to be around other people who struggle with addiction.
What?
Confirmation, right? You know what I'm saying?
Well, not just that. So confirmation in the sense of, see, I don't got a problem because everybody's doing it. It really it serves to form as a form of denial or projection.
Right.
So I agree with that, but see, it's a double-edged sword for me though, because I like through experience, I've known a lot of people that they try to mask their addictions by disassociate themselves from the people that have the same problems or same addictions as themselves, because they try to portray themselves to be something or somebody that they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like people might have an alcohol problem, right? And they be like, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to this person because all they do is drink," right? By putting that in the universe and people watching, people listening, they be like, "Oh, okay, he's good. He don't have a problem." So that's one thing I notice people be doing.
Right.
You know
But
what I mean?
that still uses other people to block you though, right? Because you're using their perceived slight, or you are projecting onto them. So you're
right.
still using other people as some kind of way to mask your own problem, because most of the people who struggle with addiction is shameful. It's hard to admit. So,
Right.
I don't want to face it.
Right.
So my question for you, is it an addiction if you're not ashamed of it?
Oh yeah. It absolutely can be. So from from a clinical perspective, you need three things for something to be an addiction. And it doesn't have to be a drug, it could be a behavior too. But it has to be three things. You have to be compelled to do the thing. You have to struggle to stop doing the thing, meaning you want to stop or you try to stop, but you can't, you fail. And then you have to have quality of life impact. So it has to impact you or have negative effects in your life, family, job, things like that. The DSM has 9 criteria for it, but I mean, that kind of sums them up right there. But from a clinical perspective, you can have all three of those things and you can not have shame and know exactly what's going on.
Right. I got you. Yeah.
Marty, you got anything?
Yeah, no, I say it makes sense because, like you said, addiction can come in a lot of forms. You know what I mean? And sometimes, you might not even realize your addiction or which detrimental. Like you said, you know, what I mean, you do want to stop. But so I know people, like you said, they're not ashamed of it, but they do have an issue that's causing them troubles in their life. But I'm not sure if they just don't recognize it. They're not trying to outwardly show it, but you know what I mean, it is causing, you know what I mean, detriment in their life. But I guess everybody has their own path. They may be okay with it, but like you said, addiction can come in all types of forms. That sometimes I think it can actually even be in disguise. You know what I mean?
Often is.
And I'm glad you said that word disguise, because like I was saying, a lot of people try to hide from the truth or hide from reality, right?
Mhm.
Some people choose to work later than they should be, right? Because they don't want to be seen by people that's judging them or people that they feel that is judging them. You know what I'm saying? They try to not blend in, but blend out, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
people won't see their addictions, and if they don't see their addictions, they won't talk about their addictions,
Yep.
right? Because anybody that's addicted to something won't or can't admit that they have a problem. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't see it as a problem. They always justify it by saying, "Well, I do it because of this," or "I don't do it like this," or "This person is worse than me." You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people try to hide themselves from the public eye so they won't be judged.
Here, I guess
Right.
I got a question. Here, is it safe to say everybody's addicted to something?
So my clinical brain won't let me say that.
Okay.
My clinical brain won't let me say that. Um, Everybody has a vice. Everybody has something that they probably might use too much. Does it escalate to the point where it would meet a criteria for an addiction? I don't think everybody has that now. But everybody got something. Like for me,
Yeah.
like I've been,
It'd be a
especially
vice.
since
Like I don't know if you call it an addiction. Is a vice the same thing as an addiction, or like what does you know what I mean? Like I
yeah,
get what
no,
you're saying, but
I so the different again, the difference would be with the vice, it's not causing you negative impacts into your life. So I give you an example. Um,
Okay.
it's maybe not yet because some things, like you said,
I
maybe
give you a
not
prime
be an
example. They
addiction
addicted to
yet.
commanders. Yeah.
Here we go. Can we keep it? Here we go. Hold on. Now I got to pull up
look,
the ticker again.
look, he
Here we
was
go
waiting for that
again.
opportunity. He was waiting. He been waiting. He was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna say it. When am I gonna say it? I've been waiting. I've been waiting."
Here
Oh
we go
man.
again. Here we go again. So
But
go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I use me as an example, right? Because I'm a kid from the South. I got an inner fat kid. I love me some sweets and sugar, like cakes, pies, cookies. I will murk them like they don't stand a chance, right? But I don't let it impact me in a negative way. So it's still my vice, and I still do it.
Right.
But I also understand that I don't need to be bringing these things in the house because I know me, I'm gonna eat them. Like I don't need to be buying no Oreos because like the whole sleeve gonna be gone. And look, it's we getting in the Girl Scout season too, man. So that's that's
Yeah.
that's gonna be rough.
Them mints
Um,
frozen.
right. And so it hasn't gotten to the point to where it's an addiction. Now it will be an addiction if like I can't stop. Like my blood sugar's being through the roof. I'm being diagnosed with diabetes and all of these other things. That's where it begins to really be an addiction because at this point I'm really having that those negative consequences in my life because of that activity that I'm doing. Do you see the difference? I explained that.
Nah, I get it.
Yeah, no,
But I got
no, I
but
definitely
another.
get it. Like but I was saying it more from a fact. Like sometimes things don't start out as an addiction. That's why I was saying like maybe it starts out as maybe a habit, something you do, and then for whatever reason it could get the better of you. So you know what I mean. Sometimes you gotta do a little, you know what I mean, a self check on things. You know what I mean. And yeah, maybe I need to
Absolutely.
give this a break, or you know what I mean, because some things can get the better of you if you allow it to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
See,
are spot on.
so you said if you allow it to, right? See, that's the thing. I don't think anybody allows for things to happen. It's just one of those things that like it just happens, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to be addicted to anything. I don't think. You know,
No, you're right.
it's like mental. It's a mental thing. You say I got control over it, or I
When I
can
say
control it.
allow, it's kind of, I say allow in the meaning that we do have choice. Like you could have stopped. When I say allow, I know what you mean. Like nobody wants it to happen, but I'm saying that just in a way like if you would have recognized it, you could have
But that's the
maybe
thing.
changed the pattern.
That's
Well,
the thing. So when we don't have addictions, like right, or we don't have the same addictions as somebody else, it's easy for us to say that, right? But like people that's an addict, right? Like they don't know that's where it's going to take them. They think they got control over it. They think that they're on top of it, right? Until it hits them in the face, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And then they might tell themselves 1,000 times, "Oh, I'm gonna slow
Yeah.
down, or I'm gonna stop," and they just keep going.
Exactly.
Right.
That's
Well,
my
and-
point.
and
That
so-
he's saying the same
yeah.
thing. That's I still say that's allowing it to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
but I get what
timing
you're
is
saying.
everything. Like
Yeah.
timing is everything though. So and so put it like this, right? We all know how alcohol works and alcohol affects the body. I have a stressful day at work. I come home, I drink, right? Next day, I have a stressful day at work. I come home and drink. Next day, I have a stressful day. I come home from work. I drink. Work has been stressful, man. We prepping for like national inspections and stuff. And before you know it, every day for every month, I've been drinking to the point to where every time I'm having a bad day, I'm beginning to associate my bad day with drinking. That's
With
called
drinking.
that's called operant conditioning. That's how addictions start. That's how they
Mhm.
start.
Okay.
To where when they're automatic, I don't have a conscious awareness of what's going on. It's a habit. That goes back to that the limbic system of our brain, our lizard brain, if you will, the amygdala, those habits. I'm not consciously aware of it. So I think what Matty actually was talking about before, where you can stop it or you have a choice, before it gets to that point to where it's automatic, that's where you can intervene, intercede before the the physical addiction, the chemical addiction comes in there.
Hmm.
Right where, because I like to break addiction down. There's a psychological addiction and then there's the physical addiction. So the psychological
Right.
addiction is where your mind gets hooked on something. That's where I think I need this thing. I think I need that drink because I'm stressed, and it's the only thing that's going to calm me down. That's a psychological addiction. Long before any physical addiction, there's a psychological addiction. But that's where you get the opportunity to really rile it back, and you can be like, oh, you know what? Let me pull my drinking back. I'm drinking after like that first week. Like I'm drinking a lot. Let me pull this back. Um, I always like to say with alcohol as an example, look at when you drink. Look at
Hmm.
when you have that desire to drink. Any drug really. Look at when you have the desire to do that thing. That tells you a lot. That tells you that you're trying to cope or self-medicate.
Hmm.
So that's where you should not say should. That's where hopefully you would have some assistance or someone to help you if you know you struggle doing this on your own. But you would have the ability to pull yourself back and really identify what's underneath it. Like in my example, what's underneath it is the stress from work.
Mm.
So addressing that stress from work, me going on a vacation or me lowering my workload or something like that, as opposed of keeping drinking, keep drinking until now, not only is work a problem, but alcohol is a problem.
Yeah, but who
Yeah,
don't
I'm
want to
glad.
drink on vacation? Hold on.
Oh,
But go
so
ahead,
look,
Devin.
I'm glad you said that because as Coach was saying, like he said, is if you don't feel bad about it, it's an addiction, right? This is my thing, and you brought up alcohol, so this is apropos, right? Like for me, listen, when I'm pissed off, when I'm angry, right? When I'm stressed out, I drink. I drink. I drink. I drink a lot, but I don't never drink to get drunk. That's not my mission. That's not my goal. I don't like the feeling of being drunk, right? Now, occasionally, do I get drunk and I'm like, well, I ain't gonna say drunk. It's just the hangovers, right? Because once I start feeling them, like, all right, I need to stop. And I keep telling myself I'm gonna slow down drinking. I'm gonna take a week off. A week never happens. At most, it might be 3 days. But like my profession, my field, I'm a kitchen manager, and I'm stressed out. Like I feel like I get attacked. I feel like I'm not treated properly, right? Like I come home and I drink. Going to work, I might say, you know what, I'm gonna take a break. I go to work, now I'm stressed out. I'm like, you know what, when I go home, I can't wait to pour something up. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing.
Mhm.
And when we talk about feeling bad about it, right? Like when I look at myself or somebody say, you got an alcohol problem, or you drink too much, or you're an addict, or you're an alcoholic, it don't make me feel good. It makes me take a step back and like, damn, I don't like that. I don't like that title. Right. Like, so it'd be times
Right.
that I'd be like, just because people are saying X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna stop. But it's just I haven't stopped, and it's one of those difficult things, right? But this is the thing, it could be a good day, and I drink. Like I feel like, oh, I gotta celebrate, and I resort to the alcohol. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm one of those people that I was just talking about when I said mentally, I feel like I'm ahead of it. I got it under control, right? And I always say that until
There
I
you
wake up
go.
in the morning. Yeah, I wake up in the morning.
There
I'm
you
like,
go.
bro, why? How much did I drink? Oh my God, I'm good off of that. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So it's people, places, and things that shape us to who we are, right? And and we're gonna touch base on some, a little later, but like, like traumas, man, like it's hard, right? We all have coping mechanisms because drinking, that's all it is a coping mechanism. You know what I'm saying? Like when I
Well,
was younger,
I
It's
would
not
challenge
all it
that.
is. That's
I
for
I
some
would
people.
I would challenge
right?
that though. Is it coping or is it avoiding?
That's it's crazy because I like to be transparent, right? Like, so my thing is, for me, it's a little bit of both, right? It's a lot of skeletons in my closet that I'm still trying to get past, right? I'm still trying to. It's demons I'm still fighting, and I openly tell people like, "Oh, I got it under control," or through trials and tribulations, like I know what I need to do. But like, no, I avoid a lot of problems, right, by drinking.
Yeah.
Right. But it's also a coping thing for me because it's like when I drink, I don't have to deal with everything else. If when I drink, it's like
It
going
numbs
from
you.
this big, it numbs. It's like going from this big world that we live in. Now I'm in a bubble. It's like I'm here now. I'm in my own space, my own
Yeah.
zone. You know what I'm saying? And that's that, man. So it's tough.
Yeah,
Like
I think the
people,
one thing you got to keep in mind, though, is that, you know what I'm saying, when you're going through those coping things, delaying the problem don't make the problem no better.
that's true.
Mhm.
It's just a band-aid. That's all it is. And it's
Right.
like deep down inside, I know that. It's just a band-aid. But it's like, you know, I'm also one of the ones that justify. I'm like, well, I don't go through shakes. I don't go through withdrawal. I don't if I don't have a drink, it's not the end of the world. So to me, I'm like, it ain't that bad. But that's what a lot of addicts do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Let
when
me
people, by definition, I'll be like, I'm an alcoholic. But when I say those words or somebody else say those words, I feel some type of way. I'm like, nah, that's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
let
It's
me
That's
it, it's
that's a
and
lot of
crazy
people.
though, because especially I would say the way I grew up or we grew up, like it was, what I mean, like we used to drink all the time, what I mean, like from like a young age we started, what I mean, drinking, what I mean, like I used to, what I mean, smoke on the daily, what I mean. So we all got these habits, but sometimes we don't see them as that. And I use that as an example because sometimes I look at it like, if we didn't have that habit, would it help me or hurt me? Like a lot of times, like the answer gonna be, I could do better without it. You know what I'm saying? But we still choose, what I mean, to use it. You'll go down that path, what I mean, for whatever reason, what I mean. But everybody knows, like, all right, if I didn't drink, I would be healthier, what I mean. What I mean, I would be better without it. But we still choose to have it, and having a drink isn't anything wrong with having a drink. But what I mean,
right,
like you said, when you start to see it,
when it
maybe,
becomes when it becomes a coping mechanism, or you can't live
yeah,
without it, or you're doing
and
it every day and not dealing with the real issue, which is
Mhm.
the stress at work, finding another way to deal with it. And I mean, I've been open on this podcast since the last 2 years we started this podcast. I started as one person, and I really feel that I've come to become a new person now as where I am. I've recently stopped drinking heavily. And one thing I want to talk about to Sergeant Garrett was the fact that most addicts have to hit some type of rock bottom, some type of point where they're like, okay, this can't be it. You know what I'm saying? Like this can't be all that I'm doing. And my rock bottom was recently. Like I've talked about on the show, I cut back, then I would drink, I cut back and I drink. I talked about my abandonment issues, and then the time that Vicky went out of town, I thought I was good. I was my abandonment issues, blah blah blah. And I was like, I've been doing, I'm on the show, I talk all this shit, and I got it under control. And then I went out. My wife went out of town. I went and got pissy drunk. You know what I'm saying? To the point where I woke up the next morning, didn't know how I got there. Didn't know where, apparently I threw up all over the place of my and I consider this man my brother's house, and this, that, and other. He took care of me and this, that, and I woke up at 4 a.m. and was like, oh shit, I did good. and then just drove home. Didn't realize I didn't have a shirt on. Didn't realize I didn't have all these things. You know what I'm saying? I sent pictures to my wife at 4 a.m. saying I'm home and safe, and just all kinds of retarded shit that I woke up the next day. And to me, that was my rock bottom. That was to me, that next day I woke up. There was nothing no one can say to me that I wasn't more disappointed in myself. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, this will never happen again. I'm not doing, I'm done. This is it. You know what I'm saying? Because I definitely didn't like the fact that I didn't remember nothing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't remember nothing. You know what I'm saying? And for a person who loves to be in control, you know what I'm saying? That's the worst feeling in the world, where I can't remember shit. And then my brother sends me pictures of me laid out on the floor with a vomit puddle of vomit next to me with no shirt on. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, that's not the dude. And all I kept on thinking is like, what if my kids saw this picture? What if what can I say to my daughter? What can I say to my son if they saw this version of me? You know what I'm saying? I was like, nah, I'm done with it. And so a lot of people have to hit that rock bottom before they get to that point. And how often is that people have to get to that rock bottom before they really decide that this version of themselves they don't want?
Yeah, so it's a combination of understanding that is your rock bottom, because one person's rock bottom is another person's bad day. And so you have to internalize that. Like what you said was, I never want to be that again. So that was your rock bottom. That was that point where you put the shovel down. Like you stopped digging. That shovel is down and you are working to climb out of that hole. So it depends on the person. I got the opportunity to work in a prison. And I can tell you, prison is a lot of people's rock bottom, because at that point, they've not only lost their career, they lost their families, and finances is all jacked up. And a lot of us like, you know what? Maybe I need to change. It's like, okay. There's this thing called the stages of change. Most people start off in what they call pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation is, I don't think I got a problem. In fact, I'm gonna be mad at you for even telling me I got a problem. Then it goes to the next stage. That's contemplation. That's where you start experiencing some of these negative quality of life impacts. So, family issues or work issues or money issues or, stuff like that, health issues. So you start, okay, maybe there's something to this. I need to, be thinking about taking a look at it. The next stage after that is preparation. That's where you actually are realizing what the problem is and you're taking the steps to address it. So I'm gonna stick with the preparation stage just for a little bit, because I want to hit on something else Rodney said. He said that it was his abandonment issues. You have to look at addiction through the philosophy of addiction is always secondary. Like I think Desmond said earlier, no one ever wants to become an addict. You're absolutely right. No one. I've been doing this work since 2009. Well, might as well say 2010. To this day, I've never met anybody that said, I can't wait to become an alcoholic. I can't wait to become a crackhead. I've never seen it, and I don't think I ever will see it. But what happens with people is they got other issues that they're working on, or that they're actually not working on, and it builds up. So what makes us escape from those problems? What quiets my thoughts? What takes away my stress? There's alcohol, or this other thing, or this behavior. They're playing video. We can be addicted to video games too. Doing this activity, it takes me away from the pain. And that's why what I said at the very beginning about mental health, the biggest mistake that people make is avoiding it. I always like to say, in order to get to, you got to go through. As long as you keep engaging in those behaviors to avoid those issues, you're going to continue to struggle with addiction, because the way your brain is set up, you have created a schema, you've created a mental framework that says this feeling is bad, this trauma is bad, this stress is bad, and how do I deal with that? How do I make it good? I use. So you are now fighting your very brain. You're fighting your own neurology at this point. That's why addiction is so hard to treat.
All right, let me just say this real quickly because we got some haters from the Philadelphia Eagles friendship jumping in here. I see your comments. If they're not relevant to what we're talking about, I'm not putting them up there.
Nah.
Thank you. So there we go. We're just gonna keep that moving. But yeah, good times, good times. Shout out to Rondo on the Rocks. You know, make
Rondo
sure
the
y'all check
Rocks.
out her podcast too. She's a great young woman, great young lady, out of Chicago. So shout out to her real quick. Just letting y'all know. I see if they don't. Oh, here we go. See, that's that bullshit. See, I knew I shouldn't have said nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Molly, I see you too.
That's all, Molly.
Y'all don't
That's
need to keep
all.
on. Some people, if you have a good question for the doctor we had for Jason Garrett, Jason, I'm shit. I'm naming coaches and shit. Paul Garrett.
See, you know what I'm saying?
Paul
Flush it.
Garrett to about addiction in the what you call it? Please put them in the comments. I'll put them up there, but I
Yeah.
will ignore.
Yeah.
You know,
I see some of the comments too, like that.
some of them
Yo,
joints on here.
Coach
too,
loving
so.
Coach loving it though. Look at him.
Yeah, he loving it. But we gonna stick on to the good comment. All right. So let me ask you this one. Is childhood trauma usually the reason why people have addictions and mental health issues?
Is that open or that's for? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Correlation and causation. So I'll say it like this. I've met a lot of people who have experienced, or sorry, who have addiction that haven't experienced a childhood trauma, but I've also met a whole lot of people who had a childhood trauma who struggle with addiction. So they're very correlated, and it goes back to what you call maladaptive coping. Actually, to be honest, it goes back further than that, though. It really goes back to how trauma impacts your brain, your developing brain. Trauma actually rewires the functioning of your brain. It can literally affect how parts of your brain grows, depending on how old you are when you experience the trauma. So that's really honestly what it goes back to. But then, as we become older, it's how do we deal with it? How do we manage it? How do we cope with it?
Okay. Fellas, anybody got anything to say? Any comments?
Well,
Yeah, man, I totally agree with
go ahead.
that. You know what I mean? I totally agree with that. Your childhood trauma, you know what I'm saying, dictates your reaction and things in life, especially when you get older. You know what I mean? And
Right.
Oftentimes it shapes your values too.
Yep,
You know,
it does.
and
It can shape you. It can shape who
Yeah.
you are. I always like to think of like your trauma. Your trauma is like a ball, and then your brain is like Play-Doh. So what happens is your brain is like Play-Doh, is forming around this trauma. So your brain is going to forever be shaped by that trauma. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say your childhood is a significant factor in you know, like your everyday life, right? Like I feel like I have a lot of traumas, and it's a lot of things. Like I said earlier, like I still can't get past. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of things in your childhood. I often say that people, places, and things make us who we are, right? Like it's a lot of things that like I've gone through and I've dealt with that I couldn't deal with that still affects me to this day. And that's a lot of things that I've gotten better with. But when we talk about triggers, it's certain triggers that'll bring me right back to who I was like 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And as much as I tell myself I will not let that happen, I will never let nobody get the best of me. It happens. It's called triggers for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So your childhood plays a significant role or significant like factor in your life. Like I went through a lot. You know what I'm saying? And in my relationship, some of my childhood traumas spills over into my relationship or with my kids or even at work. You know, and I feel like that's a lot that happens a lot in the Black community as well. The way, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not speaking for every Black man or Black woman, but like most Black households, we don't teach our kids properly, right? We're not educating our kids properly. We're just going through the motions. We're living the lives of our parents and then their parents, right? And it's like it's a lot of things in the Black community that are not taught to us, right? So now when we hit rock bottom, when we face with these adversities, we don't know how to deal with them because we wasn't properly educated in that realm. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, like Rodney said earlier, like he grew up in an era where it's like, suck it up. You better not cry. And in the Black community, that's what we teach our kids. And that's one thing that we need to stop doing. We need to get back to the basics. We need to go back, back when it was slavery time, not to bring up slavery, nothing like that, but like that's when
Going back,
in the
Adrian.
the Black community was really trying to have values, right? And these are ideals that was once there that we lost control of. We need to get back to that. We need to treat life like survival and teach our kids that, because that's the only way we're gonna grow. Because if we just go through the motions, we can't grow, right? You got to seek to understand. If you don't seek to understand, you're just going through the motions, right? Like, so my traumas, man, like I feel like most people that have kids, or no, not have kids, that want to have kids, I think the first thing that cross their mind is this: I want them to have a better life than I did, right? And a lot of times people say that they don't really act on that, right? I think when you have kids and you have that mindset, you need to put in the work. You need to say, this worked for me, this didn't work for me. Or I went through this was fucked up. Let me correct it in the next life, meaning you with your children. And that's something I try to do every day. And it's hard. When I was saying work make me want to drink, because I am a kitchen manager. I am required to work 10-hour shifts. They say when it's slower, you can get out of there, but I never do. So it's 50 hours a week. I'm more like 55, 60. And then when I come home, I used to cry as a man. I'm gonna admit it. I used to cry sometimes coming home when my kids say, "You don't care about me. You don't even love me. You care about work more than you care about me." And that used to break me every time. So it got to the point where sometimes they needed that criticism, or they needed that guidance, or they needed discipline, and I didn't do it because I was afraid to. Because I said, you know what? I'm never there for my kids. When I am there for them, I need to make it count. But see, when we talk about band-aids and pacifying people, right? Like that's all I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
My
Yeah.
one son, my 10-year-old son, stole money from me and my girlfriend, $100, and gave it to people he think is his friends. It's not his friends, and he will learn this when he get older. And like, and I should have disciplined him, but I was like, damn, I'm never home. So I still have not it's been 3 days and I ain't say nothing to him. I mean, I kind of said something, but not really. And as a man, I was like, damn, I didn't do my job.
I mean,
So,
I'm listening
look,
to man because I did.
It really go back to what you said, right? So like you know what I'm saying? That I know all y'all heard the quote, right? You know what I'm saying? Tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men, and weak men.
And I love that.
Right.
And I love that.
And that's why slavery was so critical, right? Because we had to go through tough times to become strong. And you are right. You are absolutely right. Like if we don't find the balance, or if we create easy times, we will create weak children, and they will go through tough times. Like it's just.
I think you got to define weakness though. Like I guess so. So in my mind, what I see as weak is a person who can't handle adversity, right? Like they don't know, they can't deal with struggle. They can't deal with the struggle. That's what I think what a lot of people would see as weak. But I think you have to look at you know, something called generational trauma. Be careful with valorizing slavery, or be careful with valorizing struggle too much, because what you're doing is you are valorizing something that creates a generational trauma that gets passed down generation by generation. So, for example, um, black men, black men black men tend to have a reputation for being promiscuous. We have a reputation for not being faithful to our women. There's a lot of research that tracks that back to something that happened during slavery. I don't know, guys, they were actually breeding camps. There were slave breeding
Yeah.
camps where the male slaves who were deemed the most desirable or the best workers, they were essentially forced to
breed.
breed. And then fast forward that up another generation, and then you have the fetishization of black men, particularly by white women. And because of the hierarchical power difference between white women and black men, that gets further perpetuated. And so, what black men are taught is my value comes from my sexual prowess, or my value comes from my ability to create children and stuff like that. Now, this isn't everybody, this isn't everything, but this is just it's just one of the mental frameworks that exist that got passed down. And so slavery was about 460 some odd years ago. So we are roughly about 6, 7 generations beyond that. And this same mentality is reflected in our community via music. You look at what a lot of rappers are rapping about. How many are rapping about women having so many baby mamas and stuff like that? Hell, look at the celebrity culture where you have a group of women who literally their job is to get pregnant by these athletes or these other rich men. And you can trace that behavior back to slavery, post-traumatic slave syndrome. It's actually a book. I can't
My bad,
think
my
of the
bad.
lady's name. Can't think of the lady's name who wrote it. But you just got to be careful what you're valorizing. Now, what I'm also saying is there is a balance because this world's gonna be hard. This world gonna be hard on us black folks.
Right.
We know how America gonna treat. Look, we seeing it right now. So we have to prepare our kids. I voted for Trump for sure. No, I did. We have to be
But
prepared.
that's what I was laughing
Nah,
at.
nah, nah.
Yeah.
Molly's a Trump supporter, so he's saying that in a
Yeah.
positive way.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
not
Yeah,
saying
that's
he's not
funny.
saying it
He
negative.
terrible.
That's
Molly's
funny.
a
He
Trump
terrible.
supporter, so
Yeah.
He terrible. I'm gonna have to
so
talk to him on a later date because
we can go ahead and keep it past. Don't let that distract you. I just
I know, right?
posted.
He drank the Kool-Aid. Drank the Kool-Aid. But anyway,
Yeah.
we have to prepare our kids how to handle that. And so how we do that is we give them adversity. We give them adversity that they can handle, they can overcome, that doesn't result in that, that trauma. It doesn't
Agreed.
result in that generational trauma. So like we were saying, I think that the whole thing it comes down to there's a balance. It's a balance that we have to we got to be able to maintain because our children they need struggle. They need to know what it's like to struggle. They need to know what it's like to feel uncomfortable. They need to know what it's like to fail.
But this thing,
Absolutely.
the times have changed though. The way we grew up, I think we all are probably around the same age, right? Like
Yeah.
the way we grew up, the times is different, right? Like it's when I say I don't want to put too much out there. Like everybody know what DCP and P is, right? Like they come out to your house for the smallest things, the dumbest things, and you be looking at them like, "Why are you even at my house?" Right? Like,
Right.
and that's something I deal with sometimes because kids say the strangest things, whether it's true or not true, but they over exaggerate, right? So the times has changed because it's more prevalent now than it was then. So when people talk about discipline, they might criticize me like, "Oh, how you ain't say that to your son? Or why you ain't disciplined?" Because I don't want no DCP and P case.
Yeah, but there's
but
different forms of discipline, and
Yeah.
there's still the lesson needs to be taught. I mean, it needs to be taught, and there's different ways of discipline, but each child is different. You have to know your child and know how responsive your child is to discipline. I've talked about that on my show, and to be honest with you, y'all want to hear something crazy. I'm actually excited because this guy right here is my son. You know what I'm saying? He's actually this is my 23-year-old in the Air Force. So he's talking about how most people. I would say that most people aren't raised and taught healthy ways of coping with traumatic or emotional events, which is exactly true. But to go back to your thing is that one thing I feel is a few things I feel that I express all the time, and one is that it's healthy in a relationship to be able to argue in front of your kids, but also show them that you can make up. Like you can argue and still love that person and work through the argument. You know what I'm saying? Not just not them. I don't think it's healthy to let them see you argue, but don't see you work through it. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is that the first sign of discomfort and the first sign of unfairness should happen in the house. It shouldn't happen out in the street. You don't want that to be.
Hey,
Go ahead. What?
No,
But you know,
all I was gonna say is, I 100% agree with that. But the times have changed. I
Yeah.
tell my kids now. I don't just believe it. I tell my kids, listen, hey, some of the things I say to you, I don't want to say, but you need to hear it from me before you hear it from somebody else. Because if you can accept it from me, or if you can learn to deal with it coming from me, it doesn't matter what anybody say in the streets. You be prepared for it. You think my kids
but
receive that? They don't. They don't. They twist it. They formulate their own story, and now I get a phone call, and I'm like, this is crazy.
well, my son stole, and my 10-year-old stole. We went to what you call it for, and it was on his birthday. He stole at what is it, not Golden Corral. What's the one with the country store? Cracker Barrel. We had Cracker Barrel. He steals this big ass like lollipop thing, and it was his birthday. And I was like, all right, it was cool. You took it. You took it. You know, it's your birthday. We was already going to King's Dominion, so I took him to King's Dominion. But when we got home, I took all the electronics out of his room. I did not spank him. I took all the electronics out of his room, and I told her, I said, now you're gonna realize if you want to continue stealing, you're gonna realize what the punishment is, and that's going to jail. So I took all the stuff out of his room. When he came home, when he went to school, he was allowed to go to school, eat lunch, this, that, and other. But when he came home, every night for 2 weeks, he ate tomato soup and cheese sandwiches. And I did not heat up the sandwich. I'm talking about cold bread, piece of cheese, another piece of cold bread, and tomato soup on a tray with 2 crackers and some water. And I shoved it underneath his. I shoved it in his room and closed the door. And then made him clean up, made him do all the stuff. Every time when he came home, everything was organized to the point, to the minute. I told him everything he had to do. He wasn't allowed to make no opinions, decisions on his own. And guess what? He lasted a week before he was begging me. And I said, all right, well, now you have to do good to make up for your bad. So now you got to go help neighbors. You got to go do all this stuff, and you do that, then I'll let you out early, but it's still going to hold over you. I said, you got 6 months. It's going to hold over you. If you do anything that you're not supposed to be doing in this next 6 months, you go right back, and I'm tacking on more time. And that's what I did to him. And guess what? He learned that lesson. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have to spank him at all.
Hey, Rodney, so this is why I often preach to people, and I say, people, places, and things shape and mold us to who we are, right? So we talk about traumas, right? It depends on what's going on, right? Like, it's the thing. And Allison might kill me for this, but I got to put it out there. Like, I have structure in the house. I have a formula, and it works for me. When I'm home, I don't know if it's a man thing or what it is, but when I'm home, certain things just does not happen. The moment I'm not here, they act out of control. And then, one thing, not just Allison, my mom, and recently, Allison's parents, you know what they do to try to get the kids in order or to listen? They say, I'm gonna text your dad. I'm gonna call your dad, and then they act right. But my thing is, why? That's my question. If you follow this formula, if you know what I'm saying, like, everything should be better. You know what I'm saying? So, like, people, places, things make you who you are, right? So, like, you gotta think about the trauma. So, like, I got 3 kids with Allison, and I got 1 without her, right? She has 1 without me. So I say I got 5 kids. As Chef always say, and it's I don't know. It's just different. When I come home, the kids are ecstatic. All of them call for me, run to me. Even my daughter, right? Like, she's the last of the bunch. My daughter, she get ecstatic when I come home, and sometimes I'll be like, "Why is that? Why are they treat me different than you? And you're home more than I am." I believe that whoever's home more should get more attention. That's how I feel. But it's not like that when I come home. And I don't know. I just can't. I can't wrap my head around it. So that's why I say people, places, and things make us who we are. And maybe it's the fact that, like, I'm always at work, and now they get to see me, and now they want to act right? Because maybe they act out because they're missing me. they need their father in their life. And that's why, I tell you, work is a problem. When I go to work, especially when I'm there longer than I should be, that becomes a problem in my relationship, in my just for me personally, and for my kids' life and everything. But it's like I'm looking at it like, well, I know what I get paid. I can survive off this paycheck. If I quit, I'm not gonna have no income. Or if I find another job, my thing is, what if I find another job, but I don't get paid what I get paid now? Right? Like, could I still maintain my lifestyle with a pay increase?
And you're
Right?
saying,
Like
you're saying all this because of the impact of raising kids and teaching the lessons.
Mhm.
Is that
yeah, because that plays a part in it. You know what I'm saying? But I know my kids need me, and I want to be in my kids' life more than I am. But I go to work, and earlier I said my kids tell me, you don't even love me. You care about work more than me. And that's the last thing I want to hear. Sometimes I go to work and I tell my boss, I'm like, listen, this is what my kids are saying, bro. Like, so if I'm not needed, set me free. Let me go. But he was like, oh, nah, we got to protect the business. I'm like, bro, like today, like for instance, like I said, I'm a kitchen manager. If it's slow in, let's say it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and we only got like $4,000 in the restaurant industry, that is terrible. There's no need for me to be there. Just because the standard, just because I signed a contract and they say you're supposed to work 10 hours, if we're a management team, let me go. Let me spend time with my kids and my family.
I mean,
right?
So from my perspective, just outside looking in, I'm not a counselor, but I think oftentimes the Black families are in situations, and this is something that our culture deals with, right? We actually are in a financial situation or in some type of situation where we have to rely on that job to support our families, right? And that then becomes neglect to our families, right? You know what I mean? Not intentional, so I'm not blaming you for that. But what I challenge you to do is this: is I promise you that there is more value in investing in your kids than it is into your wallet.
And then
you know what?
Right.
And then the other thing.
Hold on, Coach. I want to say one thing. Because I don't want to lose my train of thought, because that often happens with me. I don't know if it's with age or it's just me. I don't know. But everybody I vent to and I talk to about my situation, they all agree with you. They say the same thing. Like Ron on the Rocks, like, she's on right now, and I spoke to her and she said the same thing. Like, if it means bringing down your family, or if it's more of a detriment, you need to walk away. But my thing is, if I walk away, I still have to maintain the rent, the mortgage. I still got to maintain the expense of cars, my kids, and everything. And that's where it becomes difficult for me. So go ahead.
Man to man, I can tell you this: your kids don't care.
Right.
About
absolutely right. They don't. They don't care.
Stuff. You know what I'm saying? Think about this. There are kids out here whose parents are in worse situations than yours, right? Or financially not at the same level that you are right now, but their relationship might be different just because of the time spent. The kid does not care. And that's where I think as a culture, we kind of sometimes make the mistake. And now let me caveat this, that Black fathers are the top-notch fathers in this world as far as spending time with their families, despite what media may put it out there. We're the most involved in our families anyways. But I will let you know this, that, you know what I'm saying, the kid
Coach, 1 second, hold on. When I said who, when you said more involved with who,
we are.
You ain't say black. Who, black men?
Black men are.
Yes,
there's no doubt about it.
That's not true. That's not true. I will listen. I I wish that was true, but it's not true.
No,
The majority of black men are not present in their kids' life. That's it. So that's one thing.
Your research.
Huh?
So
I've done it. I've done my, go ahead.
Statistically, so speaking of statistics, they didn't the study I saw, it didn't track from like birth to 18, but it did talk about time spent with a child and actually being engaged in father activities like changing diapers and feeding and stuff like that. Black men actually are at the top.
No, hold up. I did studies myself. I don't agree with that. Like I wish that was true. Listen,
I'll find it. I'll get your information. I'll find it and send it to you.
You're on one podcast and you're looking at forefathers right now. I mean, we here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm a father too. I'm a father.
Okay.
I'm there for my kids.
Yeah.
No, nobody's saying not.
No, that's what we said. We saying we are here for our kids.
Yes,
we're all active, very active in our kids. But here's the thing I did want to say to you, Desmond, real quick. I just want to, because I noticed this too about my kids, that some kids can take an activity, like a family activity, and put value in it. Some don't. Like my daughter, if it's not one-on-one, then we didn't do shit. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's not one-on-one, I have to take her one-on-one away from the rest of my kids and spend time with her for her to find value in that. If we do it, like if I take all my kids to the movies and stuff like that, she finds no value in it. But if I have to take her one-on-one in order her to feel like I love her or I'm doing this. If she's doing it with everybody else, that's just Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to modify for certain kids what they qualify in this point in their life as love. Because you said earlier, kids like, oh, you don't love me, you love your, what you call it? Well, maybe what you're doing is just not the right thing for them to understand that you love them. Some kids need different things. Some kids can't understand that, oh, we having dinner together. This is a great family loving time. Nah, I got, my daughter, I have to take her one-on-one somewhere, do something that she feels is torturous to me in order for her to feel like I'm showing her love.
But this thing, when you have multiple kids though, right? Like you want to take one kid out and the other kids resent that, or they talk shit about it. Oh, why them, not me?
Yeah, but
so you
gotta hold true to equal that means fair.
Yeah,
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Because one kid, because what I mean is this, is that if I give both one kid $20, you know what I'm saying, and one kid $10, that doesn't make it unfair.
It does when they bring it to you. When they come to you and be like, "Oh, you gave this person this, but not me. Oh, you don't care about me."
That's because that person earned $20.
But that's the thing. As a kid, they're not going to understand that if you're not present in their life. Look, when you're not present in your life like they want you to be, they're not going to understand that, and you're the bad guy. And as a father, right? Any caring father never want to be the bad guy.
Bullshit.
Never.
Bullshit. I want to be the bad guy. I want to be. I am the bad guy, and I'm okay with it.
Jamel, what you say?
Because I am the bad guy. I am the bad. I'll tell you right now. I am the bad guy, and I'm okay with it because I want my kids to experience it so I can help them work through that. Then I don't want them to experience the bad guy out in the streets. I don't want them to experience the bad guy.
Right.
It's just like my oldest son is here. I told him he had a big head since he was 3 until he was about 17, because when he went out in the streets, they said he got a big ass head, and I didn't want him to. And you know what? He didn't get no fights. He didn't get upset, and there he is right there.
So I want to spin the block. I want to spin the block a little bit. What if your kids, since we talk about mental health and all that, right? What if your kids and you knowingly and willingly you understand that they're going through mental shit themselves, right? Do you still have that same thought process when they got mental health issues, or they're going through something like my kids, man? They listen.
Hey,
they're struggling mentally. So it's like, do you sit there and still be hard on them when they struggling mentally? No.
my son made my point. My 23-year-old son made my point. He replied to what I just said, and it says, "As you're young, most will not understand till they get older." You see what I'm saying? Like, I know they're not going to understand what I'm doing. A 7-year-old is not going to understand what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? But when he gets older, and now he's 23, he completely understands. And this is my son answering. This is the same person I'm talking about.
But
so
we talk about trauma. We talk about trauma. Did he go through trauma?
I'll let him answer. If he'll answer. He'll
answer.
Let him tell you.
Well, and that's what
I'm sure. Yes, he went through trauma. Yes, he went through trauma, but that but trauma's part of life too.
Trauma's not unavoidable. Like everybody's.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sergeant Gary. You're the professional. Go ahead and break it down for me.
What I was going to say was, as a parent, you got to be prepared. You are going to cause some emotional disturbance in your kid's life. It's gonna happen. Like that. Every parent should have that foundational baseline in their head. They are going to cause some kind of emotional disturbance in their life. What they do with that is important. Desmond, I was going to recommend you this book right here. I just found it on the bookshelf. It's called The 5 Love Languages. With each one of your kids, they're all different. You're going to have to find out what is their, quote, love language. So you can show them the kind of love, like Rodney was saying, in the way that they really need to be loved. But I also got to say, be careful not to let your guilt impact how you parent your children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love that you said that. So first of all, put that book up one more time, because I love to read. The follow. I love to read. Right, I like anything that's inspirational, anything I can grow from. One thing I took from my father, right, is this. One thing I took from my father, I tell him to this day, is he was always into the books. He was always about education. He was always about learning. He always taught me and my younger brother, you're never too old to learn, right? And that's something I took from him. But this is my thing. To add to what you said, look, that sounds good, right? You say learn each one of their love languages. But what I'm saying is it's extremely difficult when you try to learn each individual love language and somebody else feel isolated, right? They dealing with their own traumas. When I'm never home, because I'm always at work, and when they feel like that's what I care about over them, it's hard to sit there and say, let me focus on this one. Let me focus on that one. When I tell you I'm hardly home, I'm hardly home. To the point where I feel miserable, to the point where in my own relationship, I just hung out the other day. My girlfriend didn't even like it. And I tried to tell her, listen, it has nothing to do with you. Our relationship is good. I want to smile. I want to find happiness. I'm trying to fill a void here. Yeah. I'm trying to please you. I'm trying to please my kids. I'm trying to please myself. And that's an uphill battle. Honest to God, it is. Yeah, so when we talk mental health, I'm at war with myself every day, because I don't want to get old and I look back at my life and say, what did I really accomplish? What did I do? And that's what I'm saying. Every day is a struggle for me mentally. Any given days, I'm like, I'm still young. I feel like I'm still young, right? But then I look at them, I don't never do nothing but eat, sleep, shit, and go to work.
Yeah.
I don't even have me time. I don't know what that means. I at this point, or even a relationship, I don't know what that means. There be times my girlfriend want to be lovey-dovey, and I'm like, no, I'm good with it. I just want me time. And she feels some type of way, right? So that's what I'm saying. People, places, and things. My job consumes me. And oh my God, she just cut. Yo, Rodney, she did not have to. Yo, Rodney, you had to put that up there, right?
Hey, I'm Team Allison, so I ain't gonna say. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm Team Allison. She can put whatever she wants. I'm putting it going right up.
You terrible, bro.
So go ahead. We listening, brother. Go ahead.
I want some else's advice, because I can go on and on.
I got some advice before you get to clinical. Let me get my opinion out first. My opinion is stop playing that goddamn violin. We all have to do that shit. You
It's
know
not
what
the
I'm saying?
violent
That's
though.
my opinion. Oh, wait a second.
Hold
Hold on.
on.
Let me talk. You can't be
Hold on,
listening.
pity
You're
party.
not
I
listening if
don't.
you're talking. You're not
You
listening
right.
if you're talking. All right.
You
So
right.
let me go ahead and say what I got to say. You put it out there. I'm gonna say what I got to say, and I'm gonna move on. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's you know, I believe you find time for yourself. You got your own podcast. That's your time for yourself. B, you know what I'm
Ooh,
saying?
I'm glad
Yeah.
you said that. Yep.
B, 5 love languages. Read that book and learn your own love language. Because
Mhm.
once it's healing to know your own love language and know you better. And the only way you're going to be good for your kids is to work on you. So you gotta work on you, then the relationship, then the kids. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
an order to this. You know what I'm saying? And you have to follow it. You can't sit here and keep on talking about, oh, I want to be there for my kids, but you're not working on yourself. You can't keep on talking about, oh, I want to work on my relationship, but you're not working on yourself. There's an order that you have to follow. If you don't follow the order, it's not going to work. And that's just my opinion.
Hey, listen, you talk about order. Number one, like if we talk about finances, right? Like, so that's my order, right? Like, if what I'm doing,
It's in the wrong order. You already started in the wrong order. Finances
see,
shouldn't
all
even be on the fucking list.
why not? Because this is the thing: money ain't everything, but money is everything. If that makes sense, if you catch my drift,
What's more
right?
valuable
Without
to you?
money, if
One
you
should be
don't have
yourself,
money,
2 should be
if
your
you don't have
relationship, 3
money,
is your kids.
if a person is a bum and they don't have money, they can't. There's no value in that because they can't support themselves, right?
It's
And
a
that
lot
without
of
money,
happy poor
without
people.
no, without money, you can't
Yeah.
support anything or anybody. So money got to come first.
No,
That's your mistake.
So
that's a mistake.
I think
Garrett?
I think Desmond, from your perspective, I think what you're saying is you are viewing the world in a way that you have to provide. That's your prime directive. That is your job. That is
I'm a man.
to provide,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
look at it from this point. What do you use to provide? You, right? Is you, right?
Yes.
If
Yes.
you aren't well, it's almost like you trying to chop down a tree with a butter knife. Like you're not using the right tools to accomplish the things you're trying to accomplish. Rodney was right. It all starts with you. The best gift you can give yourself, your family, your loved ones is your wellness. That's the best gift you can give them. Everything else is going to come. Because I guarantee you, there are a whole lot of children who grew up who were probably poor that didn't know it. I was one of those kids. I won't say we grew up poor, but I didn't know we was as broke as we were.
Right.
But my family had a lot of love, and you know, I look at my pops.
But that could take you but so far though.
What do you
Well,
mean?
it takes you far enough because
Or hold on. You said
life
take
is
you far
about
enough. He
seasons.
said, what do I mean? Yeah, right. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, life is about seasons. We're going to be in different seasons in our life. Like I'll use my upbringing as an example. There was a point in time where my pops had to work 2 jobs where I didn't see him. Like he left in the morning before I got up to go to school, and then he didn't get back until like after 11 o'clock when I was in the bed. He was gone all day because he worked 2 jobs. And I remember Fridays I would try to stay up because that was the day I didn't have to go to school. So I would try to, that was the day that I could stay up at night. And I would try to stay up and meet him when he went home. But one of the things that he did, and to go back with time, he recognized, as I think a lot of us recognize, time is a resource that is valuable. Once it's gone, we can't get it back. You can show the people you care about how much you care about them by investing your time in them. And that
But that's
also
not good.
includes you. You got to invest time in yourself.
You're right. You listen, investing in myself, time in myself is not going to pay the bills unless I do something that's going to pay the bills. And working at a job, listen, I'm oftentimes miserable at my job, truth be told, but it pays the bills. And like I said, I'm a kitchen manager and working in a restaurant. I've been working in a restaurant for like 18 years. That's what I know. And, cooking is what I know. And, like I only been a manager for what, like 5 years, 4.5, something like that. That's what I know. So I stick with it. But I feel miserable every day. This goes back when I was talking about drinking. Like I feeling miserable. I feel like I need to drink. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you all this, you said love and all this stuff comes first. No, it don't, because love ain't gonna pay no bills. Right?
So
When we talk about showing love is being that provider and doing what you can as a man to sustain your household, maintain your household, and try to keep everything and everybody around you happy and
how long
afloat.
is that going to be sustainable? How long can you sustain that?
And okay, and me and Rodney talked about this before. Like, that's one thing I struggle with. And that's why I listen. And one thing I said to Rodney and my brother that was on the podcast, I was like, listen, my goal was to finish out 2025 strong, learn what I can business wise and everything, and run my own business, my own food truck next year. That's my goal. Now I'm my own boss, I'm my own entrepreneur, and I'm doing things my way. But I was like, I need to understand and learn everything business wise that I can before I take that leap of faith, because that's exactly what it is. A lot of people take that leap of faith without that knowledge, without that experience, and they fail. I never want to fail, and that's one thing I tell my kids: if you do everything you do in life, you should do it to the fullest. And if you ain't doing it to the fullest, stop doing it. Right? I don't care if it's tying your shoe.
You know
if you
what's
tie
funny
your shoe,
about that though?
Go ahead.
That is, everybody's gonna fail at something.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot have that fear. Even as and I'm telling you right now, as an entrepreneur, you can't have that fear because you may fail. And and guess what? And if you fail and you can't move on from the failure, that's where you're gonna be stuck.
Now, one thing I'm gonna tell you is I would never be stuck. I didn't make it 39 years. 39. I did not make it 39. My birthday next month. I did not make it 39 years as a failure. I did not. One thing nobody could never say.
Think about this. Have you failed at something?
At something, yes. But I knew I had the wherewithal to know how to bounce back. Right? My father used to tell me and my younger brother this. He said, you know the difference between do you know the definition of a dummy or somebody that's stupid? We was like, yeah, somebody that's just, they dumb, they don't know nothing. He said, no. He said, it's the inability to learn. Once you have the ability to learn, nobody can classify you as stupid because you have that ability to learn. So that's one thing that stuck with me. And I tell my kids all the time, when my kids tell me, oh, I feel like I failure, I feel stupid, I'm like, oh, are you able to learn? And once they say yes, I'm like, you're not stupid. You can never be stupid because you have that ability to learn. And I learned that from my father. And let me tell you something real quick before you finish. I went majority of my life hating my father, resenting my father. You understand? It took me to get older, and I was like, you know what? I might not agree with everything he said or done, but that's my father. You only get two parents in life, a mother and a father. And if you could take positive for somebody that you don't want to be your parent, that's a win on you know what I'm saying? That's a win for them. I took a lot of things and I applied a lot of things from my father. So he's a winner in my book. I went my whole life saying, in school, I got made fun of. When people went to school, they be like, who's your hero? I always said my mother. People laugh, they talk shit. Da, da, da. Now, when people ask me that question, I say my mom and my dad, because you live and you learn from anybody. A smart person can make a dummy smart. A dummy can make a smart person. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the truth here. So there's no rule book, there's no instructions on how to live life, right? Life is going to still be life, and you got to navigate. You got to have that wherewithal. You have to have that drive and determination to be better. And that's what I tell a lot of people. Like, it be mothers and fathers. I feel like a failure. I'm like, oh, you love your kids? But yeah. Are you there for your kids? Yeah. I'm like, you're a great father. You're a great mother. Right. And that's what I believe, because I dealt with traumas. When I felt like my parents wasn't there for me, right? This is the thing. They got me through a lot of shit in my life that I was like, I'm never going to survive. I'm never going to make it past this. When I made it past it, I got to give them credit. If it wasn't for them pushing me in their own little ways, I would never be the person I am today. If I want to take pride in who I am today, I got to give credit to somebody. right? And if I want to give credit to somebody, I got to look at the people that was there for me my whole life. Trials and tribulations, good times, bad times. My parents was there. My father is there for me now, and I hated him for most of my life. But now I have a relationship with my father. So my mother and my father, those are my heroes.
Do you want
My
your
my.
kids to have the same kind of relationship that you have with your parents, or do you want
That's,
your relationship with your kids to be different?
well, I think any parent that have kids that willingly, I think they should want their kids to have a better life. Right? I said that before. So I want my kids to look at me better than I look at my parents. I want my kids to look at me like the greatest thing that ever happened in life. And that's why I strive for that. And that's why every day I'm like, what can I do? It's times that I should discipline them, but I don't because I want to be their hero. Right? Like it's voids in my life. Like I said, it's still traumas that I'm struggling with, and I don't want them to struggle. So I'm like, all right, let me do this. Let me project this on them so they won't feel the way I feel right now.
So it sounds like you're going to have to change some things from how your parents raised you, from how you're raising your kids. If you want that relationship to be different, you're going to have to do something different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I do. I don't treat my kids like I was treated. I don't.
Right.
And that's what I was saying. I struggle. I'm at war with myself as far as the discipline aspect.
Right.
It's times that I should discipline them, but I'm like, no, I want to be the fan favorite. Right?
And
Not me.
the thing to remember about raising kids, and this is some of the best advice I like in working in the mental health field. The best advice I can give, and I struggle with this too, so I'm talking to myself. Raising kids is not about us. It's not about us and our feelings. It's about the kids, and it's about doing what's best for them and what they need. And that means sometimes I gotta be the bad guy. That means sometimes to put food on the table. And look, I was in the military for 20 years. There were times where twice actually, I left like a day's notice, and then I'm gone for 6 months. Um, I had to go. If I didn't, I was going to go to jail. Um, that was a priority at that moment. But you best believe when I got the opportunity to make my family, my kids that priority, they felt that. I was away from the military. I took my time away. I said, don't y'all bother me. Don't call me. I did what I need to do. Leave me alone. It's family time now. And so it's about making sure you have that balance. But I don't want to shift and say like it's going to be equal, because it's going to be unequal. There are going to be times where you got to focus on work. There are going to be times where you got to focus on family. You have to have, and this is where I lean on my spiritual side, prayer and wisdom to know which one is which, kind of like that serenity prayer. Um, but I just want to reiterate with you, Desmond. I hear a lot of pain that you go through. I hear a lot of stuff you go through, and it sounds like that is you're inadvertently um, transplanting that, on some of your kids. So one of the best things that you can do for your kids and your family is to work on your own healing, go on your own healing and wellness journey, so they
Mhm.
can get that best version of you.
So it's funny you said it because mentally, I'm not saying that it's a fact, it's factual. Mentally, I feel like I have healed and I have overcome things because if you knew me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you would say, that, oh, you're a different person. You better yourself, right? And so that's something I take pride in, right? Like I'm not who I used to be. I feel mentally, I feel like I'm well better off, right? Like, and I feel like I made progress. So
Oh
when we
yeah.
talk about mental health and all that, right? One thing I still struggle with is when I I I could have been the greatest of great. I could well, like when I was in a newspaper every week and people still tell me I ain't shit, you ain't shit. Like I'm like, how? I'm in a newspaper. People that I never met, they know my name, they know who I am. How you still tell me I'm a piece of shit? So for me, I was always combative and I was always like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna prove everything to the world. Right. For me, it was all about proving. And I know I tell my kids you shouldn't have to prove nothing to nobody. If you want to prove something to somebody, prove it to yourself. And I tell my kids that. But to this day, I still struggle with that. So that's where it's a little hard for me because I teach my kids one thing and I'm still struggling with something. You know what I'm saying?
But look,
That's
this is what
okay,
we
because
go
we all
ahead.
gonna
I'm
struggle.
gonna let
I'm sorry. I'm
get your
sorry.
last point. Get your
Yeah,
last point. Go ahead.
I'll be real quick. We all gonna struggle. It's progress, not perfection. None of us is perfect. There's only one that was perfect. He coming back
Yeah.
one day, but none of us are perfect. It's progress, not perfection.
All right. So this one I want to say, Sergeant Garrett, any chance we can do a part 2 next week? You available
Yeah.
next week? Well, Sergeant Garrett is, you know.
I should be.
Because I see
Yeah.
still a lot.
Should be.
I ain't get to a lot of questions. I know it's getting late, and we started at a different time than usual. And I know my fellas
Yeah.
got to go. My wife's upstairs waiting on me. So, you know, I'm going to get up there and spend some time with her. I'm going to go ahead and skip a few things. I did have an email that somebody sent me knowing that you was coming on, Sergeant Garrett. So I wanted to get to the email, and then we're going to do our quick picks. The good news is we only got to pick between 2 teams for the Super Bowl. So
You
I'm
already know.
just going to spend a few minutes and on the email. Let Sergeant Garrett comment. If anybody else wants to comment, let her know. But this is email somebody sent. It says, I had a girlfriend. I started a relationship from my childhood. During my high school and college years, she gained weight and did a lot of things and hung out with a group that didn't have a winning lifestyle. So I distanced myself away from her and said that I did not want to be with that type of person anymore. Now, after a long time, in the last year, she has got her life together, lost weight, she's in shape, looking beautiful, and she's on the right path for success. But I don't know if I can trust it. My friends are telling me that she is fine and great and everybody should, and that everything she's doing is on the right path. But I don't agree with it, and I don't know if I can get past the hurt that has happened in the past and now give her another chance. She says that she will accept me back into her life, but what do I need to do to get past that pain that happened in our childhood relationship? So what do you think?
That's a good question. It didn't mention that there was hurt or anything in there until toward the end, because that's what I was thinking. He's in order to get past it, he's got to first forgive himself, because it doesn't sound like he forgave himself, and then forgive her. Not because if he wants to get back together. I think we misunderstand what forgiveness is. Forgiveness allows us to be able to move on. But he has to reconcile within himself why he can't trust her. What is his hangup? What is the pain that he is experiencing that is causing him to have reservations about this person? And then he has to work on that and interrogate that. You know, he has to identify, is that his pain and his trauma and his insecurity that's talking, or is it evidence of, potential bad relationship? But that's work that they're gonna have to do. But it comes with recognizing where that pain and trauma comes from in order to move on from it.
Okay. All right. So unfortunately, that joke fell flat because that's actually Coach in his relationship with the Redskins.
That's hilarious.
So I got the joke kind of fell flat because he disappeared on us. But you want to give him that advice again, real quick, Sergeant Garrett? Now that he's back,
go back home. Go back home.
All right, Coach, did you hear that? Huh?
What y'all talking about?
You missed the whole joke, so it's over. But I was reading the joint about the whole thing was setting up you having your relationship as a child, and then when you got into high school and college, the Commanders looked like some garbage, so you left them alone. And now that they're looking good again, we telling you that you need to come back, but you still haven't recovered from the hate and pain that you had. I took a lot of time to write that damn joke too. I'm pissed off it didn't go.
So basically, Coach, you got to overcome your trauma, basically.
Yeah.
It's hard to Garrett. It's hard to Garrett. You're you're a Carolina fan. You got a lot of trauma you got to deal with yourself.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
You know,
Look, I recognize
like-
it. Recognition is the first
it
step.
start, like Rodney said,
There you
it
go.
starts with yourself. It always starts with yourself. You know what I mean?
And I like I
Like,
say,
remember
I'm comfortable. I'm
yeah,
comfortable.
you know
Look,
what I mean?
I'm that loyal fan. You know what I'm saying? I'll stick with my team, win or lose. You know what I'm saying? That loyalty is important.
No, that's
Talk
called
to him,
addiction.
Sergeant Garrett.
That's called
Talk to
addiction.
him,
That's
Sergeant
called
Garrett.
addiction. That's
You
what it's
know what I'm
called. It's called
saying?
addiction. Harm to yourself.
He needs to work out that.
Everybody sees it. It's called addiction.
Look,
See, the thing, what I've been trying to do, Sergeant Garrett, is protect these guys of next
I
year's
told you got
downfall.
PTSD, man.
Yeah,
Gotta
I've
get
been trying
over
to
it, man.
protect these guys of
Hey.
next year's downfall, right? You know what I mean? Because they're gonna come in the next year and talk about. See, they didn't lose until Rodney said Super Bowl.
or they was one game away from the Super Bowl.
Nah,
What do
but
you
they
mean?
didn't lose until he said Super Bowl. You know
All
what I
right.
mean?
So you blaming it on me. I got you.
Yeah,
All right.
he-
Yeah,
he
yeah.
putting it
So
all on you.
you blaming your trauma on someone else. I got it.
I don't got
No,
no
I understand.
trauma.
We talked about it.
I
We talked
overcame my
about it.
addiction. I overcame
Yeah.
my addiction.
No, you didn't. Right now,
Yes, I did.
you're addicted to picking a different team every week.
And hey,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
overcame my addiction.
All you did was take your addiction and
Fly.
move it to the side and supply it with something else.
Fly, Eagles,
You know
fly.
what I'm saying? You was addicted to alcohol.
You know-
now,
hey.
now you on crack.
Hey, I can't
Nah.
even accept you, Coach. You're not an Eagle fan. I can't accept you.
Fly.
There you
Ain't
go.
nobody think about you. You from where you from? You from Philly?
I'm from Jersey.
Oh, okay. All right. You should be a Giants fan, right? Yeah.
Negative.
Right.
I always hated New York teams.
Giants or Jets.
He
Yeah.
should be
No,
Giants.
no,
Jets. He gotta
Yeah,
root
those
for
no,
his
are the
home
two jerseys.
state.
No.
And at least
All right.
Garrett root for his
Coach,
home state.
Hey,
Look,
Coach, how
get
you
on
gonna
here.
tell me who I should root for, who my team should be? When you a fair weather fan.
Oh, I
That
play
make no
weather all day long. You know what I'm saying?
So you
The
can't
way
talk
the
about
wind
me.
blows.
Then. That's crazy.
The way
Let's
the
get
wind
into
blows.
it. Hey, let's get into it real quick. Let's get. We've been on here 2 hours, fellas. I appreciate y'all time and value it. I don't want to let this go too far than it already has. So let's everybody put their Super Bowl picks in real quick and see what everybody thinks.
Just
so,
an easy
give a
pick.
quick 30 seconds for
You
me.
think what?
know,
Easy-
for
easy
me,
what?
give me quick 30
Easy
seconds.
pick.
Oh yeah, I'm going. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to pick them, but there's no way I'm voting for the Eagles. So I'm damn sure going with Kansas City. I'm gonna get me a Taylor Swift T-shirt and
That's
wait for Kendrick Lamar to come out during halftime because that's the only real reason I'm watching the goddamn Super Bowl. So you know
Turn
what
the
I'm
TV
saying?
off.
Consider me.
Turn his TV off.
You know what I'm saying? You know, ain't nobody gonna be saying ALGLES. You know what I'm saying? To this house.
You don't
So,
think so?
there you go. Nah.
EAGLES.
Nah, not your mayor. Your mayor said ALGLES. That's what your mayor said.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
you
saying?
right. Yeah.
Nah. So
Look,
that's what they are in my book. I don't know
Yeah,
what's going on with Coach, but he keeps disappearing. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Sergeant.
He's
Garrett,
trying
what you
to he's trying to Google another team. That's all.
That's
So
right.
how you feel
Kansas
about
City,
the Eagles?
stop
That's how I
it.
feel about Kansas City, man. I can't root for Kansas City. Like
There you go.
I can't root for Kansas City. That's why I was hoping the Bills would win, but I got to go with
Yeah.
Philly.
Yeah, for a month ago I said Bills, Eagles, and then the bro. I don't want to get into it, but the Bills got cheated. They showed the replay 100 times. The ball touched the ground. They said complete
Yeah.
pass. I'm like,
Man, that
stop
was
it.
crazy.
They try to build a new Tom Brady, and it's just stop it. Now the headlines is Eagles and Chiefs rematch. Like, stop it. We gonna beat them, just like Josh Allen should have beat them, right? Like they did beat them, but we ain't gonna get into all that. So we talk about.
So if you believe that narrative, then you already know Kansas City winning. They
No,
going
that's
for the
not true.
three-peat.
That's not true.
I'm just saying. They
Listen,
don't
they
want
try
y'all
to
to
build
win.
a new top-
If
they
you believe that
You're right.
narrative, if you believe
You're
the
right,
narrative
you're right.
that they're cheating for them, they want the three-peat.
Oh Lord. What
Yo,
you doing?
Coach, he bugging right now. He just said Eagles. Now he's showing me this shit.
Oh, now the coach just switched on you that quick. Ain't that some
Yes.
bullshit?
I told you why he left. He's terrible, bro. He's terrible. Look, my girlfriend laughing in the background. But listen, man, Eagles pulling this off, and that's it.
There we go. Right.
That is
5 times
funny.
in the Super Bowl, we about to win our second one. You know, should have been our
If you
third,
ever,
but we
if
ain't
you
gonna.
ever play that, if you ever
Nah. Hold up, mute your mic. You can't talk no more, bro. So the whole podcast.
I told you wasn't no Eagles fan from the start.
I told you.
Yeah, look. Oh my God, he got Patrick Mahomes in the background. Look like he got a broke hip and a dislocated kneecap. Like, come on.
You know he don't got no rhythm.
Oh yeah, man.
Pat Mahomes, man. Y'all, hey, it's 3-peat. It's 3-peat time, man.
Repeat.
Oh man, come on, bro.
Make it
Like,
history.
oh man,
Oh, Lord, have
what happened
mercy.
to the Fly Eagles fly? Coach,
Oh, that was for the
What-
Atlanta fans. Yeah, we got.
what are you coaching? You know what I'm saying? The youth will never learn from you. What are you coaching?
Hey, fellas. Hey, look, we had a great show today. I appreciate y'all time. I appreciate y'all coming out here. Sergeant Garrett, thank you. It was a pleasure once again to have you join us again. Hopefully, let me know. Hopefully we can run this back next week and work through a few more things. Desmond, it was definitely a pleasure having you on here. And I appreciate your honesty and being real in what you're saying. And if you want more of that, please check him out on a Sipping and Tripping podcast on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
You know what
Yes,
I'm saying?
sir.
You got any other places they can follow you, Desmond?
I mean, I'm working on it. Like I said, I got a hectic work schedule, but I am going to put my stuff on the audio version on Spotify. I have to make an Instagram. So, right now it's just YouTube, but it will be on multiple platforms. So I appreciate you for plugging me in. You know what I'm saying? As always.
Absolutely. Mighty Ice, it was definitely thank you. We'll watch next week. Now I want to say Philly because Coach didn't change. You know what I'm saying? But I can't. I can't. But
Why not? Why not? Listen. First of all, I knew he was gonna bust your ass, but I told my girl, I told the world, I said, listen, if we lose, and I never rooted for anybody in my division, but I was like, I always say it's got to be, since my team was in the NFC, I said I got to go for NFC. So if y'all was to beat us, I was gonna go with Washington. I was gonna go for the Commanders to win it all.
Hey,
and for you to say you can't do the Eagles, bruh, I gotta look at you differently.
I'm happy that you said that, but I can't fake.
You saw my comments get flooded by these Eagle fans that hate all the time.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Nah, I ain't like Coach.
I
can't do that. I can't do that.
I got you.
And they wouldn't accept me. If I said Eagles, them niggas would come over here and have a fit. They wouldn't even accept me. They'd be like, "Oh, nah, nah." I wish so. It ain't gonna happen. But nah, we appreciate the time. We're gonna go ahead and end the show. Thank y'all for showing out. Hey, I want to thank everybody who jumped in the comments for your time, for your time. All the other podcasters and other people who's here. Hey, my sister was in here. My son was in here. It's crazy. So it was a good time.
That's what's up.
And just have a good time. Oh, I gotta put these up real quick because you gotta put these up, even though she's talking about the Eagles. But I'm gonna go ahead and put her comments up there.
Disclaimer real quick.
It's crazy what love would do to you, make you these crazy ass teams. But anyway.
Hey Rodney, no. Listen, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. She's a Giants fan, and this is the thing. I'm surprised. Maybe she's trying to get some Mushu later. I don't know what it is, but she hate the Eagles. When I get excited, bro, she was like, I'm sleeping on the couch. So she put these comments out there. Now she's trying to win me over. She's trying to give me a message subliminally. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man. She's proud of you working on yourself, man. You better go in there. Yeah, go in there and pretend you Saquon Barkley. He played for the Eagles and the Giants. Just go in there. Tell her you about to run through some holes. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm trying to do that, so I'm going upstairs. Y'all have a blessed day.
There you go.
Sergeant Garrett, let me know if next week can happen and we can do part 2. If not, then we'll keep it moving. But I appreciate your time. Everybody there, y'all know what it is. God bless and good night.
Good night.